Items today. This is Tuesday, June 28th. And I believe we have cards on, I'll find out right now. But item number one we'll call special, and I want to thank Councilman Koretz for being with us. I believe 2 and 3, we're going to move on consent. Items 2 and 3. Do you have any cards on 2 and 3, sir? Okay, all right. That's okay. Okay, that's a good filler. Item 6, we will not be hearing from the Director of Planning since he won't be attending today, so those of us who are waiting for the report will not be hearing it. And the clerk is working furiously over there. Good job.
Okay, so here's 1, 4, 5.
Nothing on 2 and 3?
I just have to look this one up.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any cards on 2 and 3, so we can move that on consent, Councilmember? 2 and 3 we can move on consent? Okay. All right. So the Actions Committee will be moving 2 and 3 on consent. We have special on 1. We have another one. And I want to welcome Councilman Koretz. Would you like to join us, Councilman Koretz? And I know you're pressed for time. Would you like the department to give its report before you speak, or you want to speak afterwards? It's up to you.
If I can speak now, it would be better.
Okay, Councilmember. And just before you start, Roberto, can you read number 1 into the record?
Sure, Councilman. Item 1 is a motion by Councilman Koretz and yourself. It's instructing building and safety, the planning department with the assistance of the CLA, and related departments to provide a report to the council with a status update on the progress of the Restaurant and Hospitality Express program and how the city can use the program as part of the development reform plan.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Reyes and Mr. Krikorian and stakeholders. I guess you just spent a long time hearing about some things that weren't quite as positive about building and safety. So now I have something to talk about that's a little more positive, which is their very successful restaurant hospitality program. And I'm hopeful we can learn from the success of this program and expand it not only to serving more restaurants, but also use it as a prototype and a paradigm for a program that helps all small businesses. As a council member, I hear from a lot of stakeholders about the things that the city has gotten wrong. All of our shortcomings, all of our problems, you all hear of this all the time. So it was very refreshing for me a few months ago to hear from business groups around the city that the building department's restaurant program is working very well, and it should be used as a model going forward for making the city more business friendly. I know the city's looking at long-term structural development reform, but I think we also should look at the fact that short-term improvements in customer service, consistency, and timeliness are just as important, and we can do them now. We all have issues in our districts with problem restaurants or businesses, but the vast majority of businesses and restaurants are simply trying to provide great service to their customers and their community while earning a living and providing critical jobs to thousands of Angelenos at the same time. We're a city of 4 million people that accomplishes amazing feats every day, but the fact is we have not produced a simple brochure explaining how and why a small business owner or entrepreneur should open a business in the city. We provide complicated case management to large projects, but oftentimes the little guy has the feeling that there's nowhere for them to turn for answers and information, and that's a problem we can fix. This restaurant program is a great start, but I think we have a lot of work left to do, and I look forward to working with all of you on those kinds of solutions. Thank you.
Councilor Cortez, I think that's important that we advocate in the manner that you are proposing this motion. I do know through the Community Development Department, they have different types of how-to brochures and pamphlets. Perhaps we should start leveraging those resources since they're already paying for different types of publications, how we could supplement and or however we think is the most efficient way of working with how the city family is trying to address this need, but you've hit a real void in filling this kind of interest and responding to it in the manner that you have indicated in your motion. So I compliment you on that.
I absolutely agree. I think it's a miss, and it's not easy. It's not difficult to correct.
Absolutely.
So I think if we have that focus, there's a lot more we could do to attract small business with a relatively minimal amount of effort.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Any questions for our colleague, Councilmember? No? Okay. We do have the report from the staff. I'd like to come up to have any staff who'd like to present on this from Planning Department or Building and Safety.
Good afternoon, President, and also the Councilmember Korean. My name is Ray Chan, Executive Officer, Department of Building and Safety. We all know that it's very difficult to run a restaurant. What is more difficult is to open up a restaurant, because to open up a restaurant, you really have to involve with many different number of permits of different types, anywhere from fire department permits to health department permits, Bureau of Sanitation permits, and many building safety permits. Also, that would involve probably anywhere from 20 to 100 inspections, depends on the size of the restaurant. Because of this complexity, and many times that almost no restaurants were able to open on time before this program was launched. And because of the delay in openings, of course, that would increase the construction cost and loss of revenue. So approximately 18 months ago, Central City Association put together a meeting, and they invited all the senior managers of all the relevant departments, agencies, to the meeting to listen to the, I would say, the restaurateurs to express their concerns and the horrible experiences that they have while they try to open the restaurants. And after that, we heard many different horrible stories. We decided we all get together and come up with a method to make restaurant development a much easier process. And after 2 months, we went back to the same group of people and proposed this, what we call the Restaurant and Hospitality Express program, which has altogether 2 parts. The first part is all the relevant agencies get together, and what we did, we put together one information bulletin that defines the process and the codes. All the relevant agencies get together with one information bulletin instead of, health department has their own material, building and safety has their own information bulletin. So that consolidation of information would be very helpful to the applicants. Also, we come up with new agreement among the different departments to eliminate any code conflicts. And at the same time, we come up with new policies to avoid any inconsistency when our inspectors of different departments go out there to do inspection. So that would give a very clear understanding of how the policies, procedures, for the customers to understand. But most importantly, the second part of this program is to establish what we call a food service case management program, which will provide hand-holding services to the designers or the contractors or the restaurateurs themselves when they try to open a restaurant at either the design stage or at the plan check stage or at the construction stage. These case managers, once they are assigned to a project, will act as navigators or guardian angels or problem solvers. What they will do, they will first of all provide any code requirements, clarify all the code requirements to the designers. They will identify all the foreseeable problems. They will resolve any unforeseeable problems down the road. And at the same time, they will establish construction sequence between inspectors and also contractors to make sure that the opening date will happen for many of restaurants. Since we implement this program, a total of 60 restaurants have been opened on time. And right now, there are 40 restaurants under construction and 20 restaurants in plan check, and 50 restaurants have expressed interest to be in this program. So this, we are very happy about the progress and the expansion of this program.
Mr. Chairman, I know there's a lot of detail in the how-tos. In relation to the motion itself, do you feel that we have enough work and progress in place to address the objectives of Councilman Koretz's motion?
I think so. I think, there are many other areas that we could use the same concept to improve.
Okay, so I want to make sure this was put on the committee floor so we can move it to council. And it's a way to demonstrate this one caveat within a whole other structural programmatic change that's occurring in building and safety, given the amount of resources we've invested the past 2-3 years to look at technology, to look at the budget crisis, and to create efficiencies. And I just wanted to make sure that we had the ability to respond to a motion like Councilman Koretz and use that as a demonstration, an example, if you will, of what is the tip of the iceberg in these changes that are occurring in building and safety. Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate, but it also not just building and safety, is actually for all the agencies involved with, construction development. And I guess right now the ongoing development reform effort would address a lot of these issues. And the effort itself also has utilized some of the ideas that we apply to the restaurant program.
Councilmember Krikorian, any questions or observations? Okay, so let's go through the cards. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Thank you for your hard work. We have Ann Nguyen, Elizabeth Peterson. When you come on up, keep an eye on the clock. Give us your statement. If the speaker before you has spoken and has mentioned or stated the same points, it's okay to say, I agree with the previous speaker, and give us any new information. And just keep an eye on the clock. Some of you have written elegant letters that are, but sometimes you miss the point if you don't get to the punch within the 2 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
Good afternoon, Ann Nguyen with, Ann Nguyen with the Central City Association. We want to thank Councilmember Koretz and Councilmember Reyes for spearheading this motion, and commend all the city and county staff who have been involved in Restaurant and Hospitality Express. The success of this program has been due in no small part to the initiative and willingness of staff to contribute to the solution. This all started, as Mr. Chan said, from a small meeting we hosted in 2009 where we brought together departments, our restaurants, discussed the problems with opening a restaurant. Solutions were brainstormed, a pilot program of only 14 restaurants was created, and a year and a half later, the program has really taken off. This means more jobs, more money to the city, more economic growth. It's also, you might not know that the program was highlighted in the California Restaurant Association magazine. It received an award from the National Association of Counties for its effectiveness and innovation, so this is a very great thing. We are extremely proud of the program, and it serves as an example of what can happen with seamless collaboration between the private sector and the city. We are thinking bigger, and we believe this model can be used for more comprehensive reform so that these successes can be replicated through other industries besides food establishments. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Peterson?
Good afternoon. Elizabeth Peterson, 400 South Main Street, Unit 808, Los Angeles, California. I've had the privilege of having a land use company for the last 15 years. We specialize in the hospitality industry. We have entitled over 400 businesses and brought them through construction in Los Angeles. My husband and I have owned restaurants in Los Angeles for 30 years. The expedite unit of the hospitality department of LABS is imperative to Los Angeles. The process of obtaining a building permit after or during the entitlement process is a must. The entitlement process and building permit process a few years ago was over 3 years. For the sustainability of the hospitality industry in Los Angeles. The department and staff, supervised with Larry Galston, senior inspectors Mark Bevilacqua and Lisa Yancey under Mr. Chan's directive, have done an outstanding job. Their learning curve was large, and they persevered and finally saw the depth of frustration of the private sector. How we've experienced this for many years. This is the first time LABS has had an opportunity to understand the process and to facilitate creative solutions. Cutting the bureaucracy for the permitting process for the hospitality unit has coordinated and facilitated process for the first time by coordinating with LA County Health Departments, Industrial Waste, the Planning Department, and LAFD. They personally assist with the entire process, clearing all the counters swiftly, yet maintaining all departments' code requirements. They have cut the time frame from over 6 weeks to under a week at many occasions. Previously, as I said, it would take 3 years. The hospitality industry is one of the largest industries. It provides jobs from low income to high income, and we are a very large industry in the community. And it was almost impossible for people to build in Los Angeles. And now that we have this unit, it's been really, really good. I want to say, in the negative, they're overwhelmed. They have probably almost 150 cases right now with 3 people. They're doing an outstanding job. Plan check is only allowing them to plan check between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning at the counters, and I think that is remiss. And I would like to encourage you to do everything you can to facilitate this.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson.
Thank you very much.
Next speakers, we have Douglas Arsenal, David Carlott, and Russell Brown. I hope I pronounced your names accurately. Sir?
Thank you, council members. My name is Doug Arsenal. I'm the Legislative Affairs Manager for the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. On behalf of our over 360 members that have created over 100,000 jobs in the city and surrounding areas, we wish to express our deepest thanks to Councilmember Koretz for highlighting the successes of the restaurant and hospitality program. The city of Los Angeles is deeply in need of code reform in order to streamline the complicated development process. The restaurant and hospitality program is the beginning of such reforms. By assigning a case manager to provide one-on-one assistance to new food service establishments, the city has created a better, more efficient permitting process. This approach creates interagency collaboration and avoids conflicts involved in the process. The program has led to more food establishments opening on time, creating the jobs, tax revenue, and economic growth necessary to move our state back into the black. This partnership with the development community represents a model for returning our city to economically viability and healthy commercial cooperation. Once again, thank you to Councilmember Koretz for celebrating this program's success. VICA looks forward to similar programs in all industries that touch our fair city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David Carlott and Russell Brown. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I have some exhibits I'd like to hand out to the members.
Sure, please pass them to the clerk, please. To the clerk. Thank you.
First, let me say, when I was invited by Mr. Koretz to appear today,
Would you mind giving us your name first for the record?
David Carlat, C-A-R-L-A-T, 1017 North La Cienega.
Thank you, sir.
I really wasn't sure that he really wanted me to come down. I'm probably more than once a week in his office and in other council offices where I have projects pounding the desk over some problems that we're having with getting restaurants and bars approved. I at any one time probably have a dozen cases where restaurants and bars are either in planning or in the building and safety process. And I will tell you, in general, it's a nightmare. As I said to Hal Bernstein many years ago, thank you for making a system so complicated that people have to hire people like me to get things done. But I will say that there are some exceptional staff in building and safety. I have to point out Ray Chan and David Laura in particular. And I must say, to my surprise, the new system they set up for expediting restaurants and bars with Mark Bevilacqua has been a real effort to try to fix things. Unfortunately, the bureaucracy is not always cooperative, and what I brought today was an example of what I deal with every day and what I think you all need to know that goes on. An existing restaurant that took 5 years to get permitted made a decision to change an existing window to an existing door in April. I won't take the 2 months that it took Building and Safety to approve that here to explain to you what I had to go through, but at one point I finally gave up and turned to Mark Bevilacqua to assist in the process. The bottom line is they cost over $515 in permit fees. It cost the client in engineering and other fees close to $1,000, not to mention my time. And by the end of the process, they'd spent over 2 months to get approval for just changing out an existing window to an existing door. And that's what we face every day. And I've given you the history on that in front of you to look at.
So you're formerly known as an expediter.
Well, listen, without the complicated...
Associate coordinator, political consultant and management, correct?
That's what I do.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Russell Brown. I'm Executive Director of the Historic Downtown BID. We have 1,100 property owners and condo owners. I was also the President of the Downtown LA Neighborhood Council for 5 years. Every single planning project that has come through downtown in the last 8 years, we've been very, very involved in. We're very much in support of the hospitality program because the alternative is beyond a nightmare. I can only say that we talked about the kickbacks and the graft. The present legal system you have is nothing short of almost being as bad. We have a business owner that's trying to open that's taken a year and a half. This is a professional architect who's opened places all over the world. A small 2,000 square foot store, he said, cost him $128,000 more in fees than the most complicated project he's done anywhere in the United States. Even at an entertainment forum in Hollywood, where you had Madame Trousseau, and my numbers may be a little bit off, but they said they had about 175 projects in the entire world in 135 countries. The one in Hollywood was the most complicated by a factor of 10 in the entire world. And that was with LA being gung-ho to make sure it happens. Every new business that's opening in historic core has horror stories, and a number of them don't even look forward to opening because they give up because they know how difficult it is. So we desperately need reform. This program is one of the ways to do it, but like others said, they're gravely understaffed and it needs to be expanded and staffed correctly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That concludes the public comment period. So we will be referring this to the Department of Building and Safety and the Planning Department. And we have a second on that, Councilman? Okay, that'll be the action of our committee for item number 1. Roberto, you want to take us to the next item?
Sure. Item 4, council members, it's an appeal by Rodolfo and Natalia Brambula, and they're appealing a zoning administrator's denial of a zone variance to legalize 2 apartment units in CD1. There's also a 245 motion introduced by yourself, Councilman, associated with this case.
Okay, so we have quite a few cards on this item as well. I just wanted to show the Councilman Krikorian that I 245 this item from the South LA PC because I wanted to review the decision a little bit more carefully. And hearing the case with various parties, I understand that the applicant is requesting in writing to withdraw the variance request to permit the 2 additional units, but is still seeking a zoning administrator's adjustment for the building separation matter. As such, the only matter of focus for today is the zoning administrator's adjustment. With that clarification, I'm hoping that everyone that's in the audience that's wishing to testify will let us proceed, understanding the focal point of this proceeding. So if I can call up Ms. Wyatt, if we can give us for the record what's in front of us and the actions taken by the applicant, so that hopefully the people in the audience that want to speak will understand what we're trying to decide today.
Yes, good afternoon, Lynn Wyatt for the Office of Zoning Administration. The item before you is a 245 on an appeal that was ultimately taken forward to the South Area Planning Commission. At that time, the commission denied both the variance on the 2 additional units that the applicant had requested, as well as a variance in regards to parking on the property and being able to back out onto a collector street. Those items, it is also my understanding, have been withdrawn by the applicant, and so what is before you today is solely the adjustment in association with the existing driveway on the property. That driveway is 11 feet 5 inches in lieu of 20 feet, and that would be between 2 existing buildings, so ultimately there would be no change to the physical configuration on the property or as well as any new development on the property. The 2 additional units would not go forward at this point in time. 1 additional unit, which would be allowed by right, would be able to be maintained by the applicant on the site in conjunction with pulling the proper building and safety permits. So what's before you again is solely the adjustment. My understanding is that the council district staff has worked in consultation with the applicant to provide appropriate findings in regards to the adjustment, as well as conditions of approval. And in reviewing the mitigated negative declaration that was prepared for the original application, this was addressed in that MND, and the conditions provided in the MND would be incorporated as conditions of the grant if you choose to approve it.
Who is the applicant on record?
The applicant on record is Mr. Ortiz, and he is at 851 East 23rd Street. And the representative is Carolina Abrega, is my understanding. And I think they're present today to be able to elaborate on all of this.
Okay.
And for the record, I do have the mitigated negative declaration and can identify those conditions which, if adopted, would be appropriate to the adjustment, as opposed to delete those that applied solely to the variance portion of the application. And we could go through that later.
Okay, so we heard a lot of technical language, and those of us who went to planning school sometimes have a hard time following that. So, so is there any way to explain in layman's terms what we're actually doing?
Bottom line was that they have 2 buildings on the property, one of which has 4 units that were permitted by right, and they built 3 additional in there, so they had a total of 7. They have another building on the property that really is not a point of discussion. They get to maintain the units that are back there. They wanted to maintain a total of 11 units on the property under a variance. They're taking that off the table now. All they want to do is maintain 9, which they are allowed to do by right, and so that's what is being planned by them, and they can do that by right, so they no longer would need the variance. The adjustment just looks at a driveway issue and the juxtaposition of the 2 buildings on the site and the relationship of an existing garage with the rear apartment building and the distance between those 2. And you're supposed to, by code, require 20 feet. They only have the ability, and because the buildings have existed there for over 50 years, to maintain that 11 feet 5 inches. To ask them now to try and maintain that under code would require moving the buildings around or taking out the garage, all of that. So the mindset is to go ahead and allow them to maintain that distance.
So I heard you correctly, those buildings have been there for almost 50 years.
Correct, at least, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. See no other questions? Let's start with the applicant and also the appellant, same entity. And if I'm not mistaken, okay. I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Rodolfo Brambila Ortiz is being represented by Alberto Romero? No? I'm a friend of Mr. Okay. Can I have the, okay, so we'll just have, all right, I'm trying to read the cards. So you'll be representing the applicant?
Yes, and Andy Montealegre.
Andy Montalegre, okay.
Both of us. What is the board?
Recently retired, Mr. Montalegre?
Yes.
Yes and no. All right. One more board.
Go ahead, you want to start, and we'll have the other pictures. We have other pictures to give, too.
So Andy, just to be clear, so you're still active, but you're no longer...
My phone keeps ringing.
What I'm saying is, are you still working with the planning department?
Oh, no, I've been gone for 15, 16 months.
Okay, 15, 16 months. All right.
The phone just keeps ringing.
Well, you're a man. You're a man in demand.
I like this stuff.
Okay, good for you, Andy. You're a good man.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes. Planning in my blood.
Okay, we're going to give you some time as the applicant and as the appellant. We want to give you time to present your case. Now, it's going to be focused on what's in front of us, correct?
So, City Attorney, just to clarify, you requested in writing to deny the application for the variance?
Go ahead.
You requested in writing? You requested to withdraw the application for the variance?
Yes.
Okay, did you do that in writing?
I have it here.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So the focus now will be the adjustment, and then later on in public comment, all the comments should be on that as well.
Okay, so as the appellant, just do me a favor as chair of this committee, because I think people might have come in with one impression, and since this discussion has been relatively new and this understanding, if you can be very clear for the audience what you're asking for, and what is it that you withdrew, that you no longer want considered? Thank you.
My name is Carolina Abrego Pineda, and I'm one of the representatives.
And my name is Andrew Montalegre. I'm the other representative.
For Rodolfo Brambilla, owner and applicant of property located at 851 West 23rd Street. First of all, Honorable Plan Committee, we want to thank you for this opportunity to allow us to review and to correct the wrong. It's been quite a journey for us to go through this process. Since originally we were requesting a zone variance, and on the last minute we have come up with a conclusion, and that's the primary reason that I want to start with. We are formally withdrawing the zone variance to allow the 2 units through the variance process and the backing out onto a Norwood Street. With that in mind, we are here to request a zoning administrator adjustment, which is 11 feet and 5 inches of building separation, the main buildings between 851 West 23rd Street and 2133 Norwood. This picture depicts the separation.
They have to.
Depicts the separation between the garage in the northeast side of the property, and which is attached to 851 West 23rd Street, which in a minute I will go over with the board, explaining where those structures are located. And then the other building which you observe the separation is 2133 Norwood. And that's the reason that we are here to request this to be approved. The structures are located, see 23rd Street. This is 23rd Street. And you have that on Exhibit 1B. The building, 851 23rd Street, is the one that in the 1950s, got 4 units conversion, and that's the building which absorbed the scope of work. We are allowed to get 1 more unit by right, which will be the 5th unit in this building. 2133 Norwood Street is this structure which is not part of the scope of work. This is Norwood Street, which you can see the lot area. We have beautiful landscaping as well, open space that is enough for the units that we were requesting originally, which were 11, and now we're just requesting 1 more. Other issues of parking, we don't have any issues, everything is clear. So merely here, we're just requesting a building separation of 11.5. And just an idea how the building looks. This is A51 West 23rd Street structure. The one right here is the frontage. And this is a side view, front view of A51 West 23rd Street, observing the landscaping. This is the side on Norwood. This is Norwood, and down here will be 23rd Street. This is inside the structure. It's like a little enclosed with the parking is observed at this side, and also in the background between Norwood, right there, thank you, between Norwood building and the fence adjacent to the other property. So this is parking spaces here, 2 existing car garages from the 1950s. Also a little bit of the neighborhood. As you can see, it's multi-dense structures. We have beautiful vested streets, and we have signals throughout 23rd Street, which make the cars movement in a way that it doesn't create congestion. So here, A51 West 23rd Street is a non-contributor HPLC structure. It's been there for more than 50 years. The tenants are happy. We don't have any problem with the neighbors. As we discussed, the landscaping is beautiful. Okay. We have a support from the neighborhood council, and also we have a support from neighbors, which we have submitted.
Okay, so thank you for that information. We've given ample time for your presentation, and that will conclude your presentation? Yes. Okay. All right, so then we'll proceed with the cards in front of us. And we have with us, again, Alberto Romero. If you'd like to speak, if you're compelled to speak, come on up. We have Roland, I believe it's Salsa, afterwards. That's at 1338 West 24th. Mr. Romero.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, honorable Plum Committee. My name is Al Romero, and I have been a friend of Mr. Ortiz for some 25 years, and I have also been an avid member of the community. The dynamics of the community is when somebody would make the comment, when you open your eyes, what do you want to see? This is the kind of structure, the kind of property, and the kind of history, the dynamics of code enforcement, the dynamics of habitability. The existing structures, 11 foot 5 inches, reflect a property that is in conjunction basically with the dynamics of not only the community, but doesn't provide the kind of detrimental things that people might think of. Oh, it's going to impact the street, the parking, the amount of signals that are provided in the community. The kind of dynamics that you would look for are all here. When evaluating this parcel, I think you're going to find that it's a really oversimplified request, something that doesn't take a lot of overthinking. It's in that I'm going to conclude with, I think it's self-explanatory. Anybody who would live there would have complained if there had ever been a problem. It's never happened. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Ryan. Then we'll have Mitzi March Mogul.
Hello, my name is Roland Souza, 1338 West 24th, and I would support, I guess, the withdrawal of the variance, and certainly glad that the parking 11-foot as opposed to 20-foot issue seems to have been solved. So,
thank you, sir.
Even though we opposed it originally.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Good afternoon, ma'am. Please give us your name and address.
Mitzi March Mogul, appearing for West Adams Heritage Association. We're pleased at this withdrawal because, for one thing, it has spared this commission from being forced into the position of having to deny something that was a ridiculous request to begin with. I would like to have clarity, then will the 2 illegal units then be removed now that this request for variance is being withdrawn? The units in question are illegal, have been illegal. There is no paperwork on them, which is, of course, the essential reason for their request for variance. They were trying to legalize something that had no business being there. So I would just like to obtain some clarity from the applicant on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jim Robinson.
I'm Jim Robinson, 27 St. James Park. I just want to thank the applicant for withdrawing the variance request and to go in support of his current request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Laura Myers.
Hi, I'm Laura Myers. I represent the North University Park Community Association, and I think I'm echoing everyone to say thank you that the variance request was withdrawn. And I echo Mitzi's question about how building and safety will be handling the units. There's 3 units that were built without permits. It's not clear when. We've been told 50 years ago. Housing Department standard inspection in 2005 did not find 3 units. So, but in any case, I believe the applicant has an application in at Building and Safety, which will have inspections to reconfigure everything. But I would want to make sure the city's paying attention to that. But I support the ZAA because we wouldn't want to see buildings demolished just to make a wider driveway in a historic area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jim Childs.
Good afternoon, Jim Childs for Adams Dockweiler Heritage Organizing Committee. I also would like to thank the applicant for withdrawing the zone variance request. I came here today specifically to ask you to not approve it, and now that's a non-issue, so I guess I can go home, and shortly the rest of you can too. But I have no opposition whatsoever to the ZAA request, and I would find that the MMD would be sufficient for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ruben McDowell.
My name is Ruben McDowell. I live on 23rd Street for the last 24 years. And likewise, since the variance request has been withdrawn, then I have no opposition to the project as adjusted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rafael Nadal.
Councilman Reyes, good afternoon. My name is Rafael Nadal. I'm also in support of the
building motion for the separation, but I'd like to make a separate comment. I take issue with the notion that it is a ridiculous, the notion that these people are asking for a variance. Anecdotally, I just want to let you know that I participated in the meeting of the board, and I find it outrageous that the application due of the group, which is in support of the application or in support of the staff recommendation, was adopted even before an entire group of the whole community that was there at the time. So it seems to me, Councilman Reyes, that no matter how much support a person may have for a particular issue, you have a group that have particular interest, and they can issue veiled threats to the city, whether they're litigation or otherwise, and they can intimidate the city with this kind of stuff. And therefore, that my support goes without any condition for the applicant, but I want to take issue with this kind of activities that are going on whereby the city is being put in a position that they have to back out because they're concerned that they may be wind up in litigation. So without any more, my support is for the applicant.
Thank you, sir. Francisco Rivera.
Good afternoon, Chair of the Plan Committee. I'm Council Member Kekorian, member of the Plan Committee. My name is Francisco Rivera, and 2007 Wilshire Boulevard, and I am here in support of the petition of Mr. Rudolph Brambilla, in support of the withdrawal of the zone variance in the case CA 2009-1836 CBCAA. But I also would like to make a comment, that you as elected officials and as member of the Plum Committee, you have to make historical decisions, and this is one of them. It's a matter of fairness, due process, and justice. For me, one small group cannot dictate unjust policies for the whole of the city of Los Angeles. So in that sense, please grant the petition to the applicant. I have seen so many cases in which, the applicant has to go through very painful processes, with a lot of cost, for injustices, and decisions that are taken by the different departments of the city of Los Angeles. It's so good that now this matter can be resolved in this committee, and to have a fair end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Joy King, then Lester Lopez.
Hi, my name is Joy King.
Good afternoon.
And I work with the 10th District. I work in the community with homelessness. I support this project totally and completely. I also agree with Raphael on this situation that's happening in this community. We are dealing with a situation, not only with the situation with people fighting against people trying to make things legal and right in this community. Not only that, we also are dealing with the fact that we have so many people in this community that have no place to live. We have so many housing projects that we are trying to legalize right now. We have so many pieces of property in that are in foreclosure. The need for us to have affordable housing here in Los Angeles is so extremely important. This is a wonderful apartment building. It's in a wonderful community. It helps the children in our community. We need to all work together now as one. You guys need to help us and work with us in this community to be able to allow affordable housing for our kids, our families that don't have any place to stay. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys support this project as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Lester Lopez? Okay. Maybe Wayne Pinella or Pinilla? Spinella? Good afternoon.
Yeah. Wayne Spindler?
This is item number 4.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad I looked at this before about the original variance, and now they're withdrawing. But the one thing you have to look at is, why do they require a 20-foot driveway? Does anybody know? It's because of fire turn lanes. Because you cannot, when there's projects take place and there's a certain amount of occupancy, the code requires that there be a turn lane sufficient for emergency personnel. That's the reason why they want it from 11 to 20. Now, taking that into consideration, when these projects come up and there's illegal units, and landowners can speak about this with clarity, you have an opportunity here to give them I think a very reasonable driveway variance under the circumstances, because of the narrowness of the roads that are there. A fire turn lane of 20 feet, another 9 feet isn't going to make a difference for public safety in this project. But what you need to do is make conditions where if there is illegal units, that they be removed within a matter of days or time before you give them the variance. This is an opportunity for you to do code enforcement and planning in the same button. But what often happens is that it doesn't happen that way, and instead this issue will come up because they're going to try to get variances for the units that have been there, and then all of this comes back again. So what you should do is have them agree, so there's no litigation, that they remove whatever illegality is there and get the zoning variance for the driveway all in one. And then that waives any suits, and then the city and Carmen Trutanich's office saves years and multitudes of litigation. But overall, looking at what you have here, it looks like a good deal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was informed that many people came here, many persons came here to support the applicant, but did not fill out a card out of courtesy to the committee and our time. So those who are here, I'd like to acknowledge your presence, because you made the trip to City Hall. I know it's not the easiest place to get to. I just want to ask if you would like to stand and show us who is here in support of the applicant. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming here. And as my colleague, Councilman Labange, might say, you're always welcome to go up to the tower now that you're here and take a look at the view of the city. It's a pretty nice day. If it's open, I invite you to go. Many dignitaries have gone there over the years. We receive presidents and other royalty in that tower, and it's your house. So if it's open, please make time to go visit the tower. It's a beautiful view. So that was my commercial for Los Angeles. Oh. A guide, that's right. Well, maybe there's someone out there that, isn't there the docents? Are they still available now? Do you know, Roberto?
Perhaps through the mayor's office, Council.
Okay. Okay, so that concludes public comment. Any questions, Councilmember? Okay, so we're going to take some technical steps and detailed steps to get to a place that hopefully affords everyone a sense of fairness and opportunity to participate in the process. And given what we've heard, I would essentially recommend that we deny in part and grant in part the applicant's appeal, and in doing so, pursuant to section 12.27, the committee denies without prejudice, inasmuch as the applicant has submitted a written request to withdraw the variance request relative to the permit, the 2 additional dwelling units, a variance from section 12.09 to permit the 2 additional dwelling units on the site with a minimum lot of 636 feet and a lot of 0 feet in lieu of the required 1,500 square feet. And pursuant to section 12.27 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code, the Plum Committee denies without prejudice inasmuch as the applicant advises that it is no longer needed. A variance from section 12.21-A5 of the LA Municipal Code to permit 2 new parking spaces, both of which require that automobiles back up onto a collector street, Norwood. Pursuant to section 12.28-8 of the LA Municipal Code, the Plum Committee approves a zoning administrator's adjustment from section 12.21-C 2A to permit a building separation of 11 feet 5 inches in lieu of the required 20 feet from the northeast garage to the structure of 2133 Norwood Street, all in conjunction with the conversion of an existing 2-story, 3,885 square foot apartment building with 4 existing permitted units, adding 1 by right unit. We would adopt the environmental clearance mitigation negative deck number ENV 2009-1837-MND-record upon the following additional terms and conditions. And there's a series of terms and conditions that have been submitted to the record. There's close to, I believe, 8. And we also have with us, the attached are the findings and exhibit, as well as conditions of approval for zoning administration and actions on request. And this has been reviewed by the city attorney. Thank you, Guadalupe. She's coaching me really good. And,
Lynn Wyatt, Office of Zoning Administration. I'd like to add one clarification to condition number 7, which now reads, all mitigation measures applicable to the zoning administrator's adjustment contained in ENV 2009-1837 MND REC are hereby incorporated as conditions of approval. And just to clarify that and to be specific to the record, the conditions on the MND that would apply for the adjustment are condition MND number 1B2, 1B4, 1C1, 3D1, 9, and 15D in regards to safety hazards. The others could be deleted.
And is that consistent with the applicant's understanding? Everything has been written?
Yes.
Okay, and stated for the record, so we're all on the same page on this one? Come on to the microphone, please.
I brought that question up this morning, what the conditions of the MND would apply. So I've not had a chance to read them, but we're on the same page that only the conditions of the MND that apply to the adjustment be applied in this case.
Okay, so I'm hearing the same thing then.
Yeah, yes.
All right, I just want to make sure. All right, so have a second on that item? Okay, and that takes care of item number 4. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for coming to City Hall. Hope you get to take advantage of the trip here and check out this beautiful historic building. Thank you, sir.
And as far as the 245 motion, Councilman, that would be just noted on file?
I believe so.
What, on the variance?
Yeah, on the variance?
Okay, but they're still on the adjustment, though.
Right. But I think that the motion also spoke as to the adjustment. So maybe the motion still carries with the...
Yeah, only for the adjustment.
Okay, only for the adjustment.
All you did was act only on the adjustment.
Right.
And the variances were withdrawn.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So only on the adjustment, the motion.
Ándale. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Romero. All right, item number 5.
Item 5, Councilman, is an appeal. There's 4 appeals on file. It relates to various land use entitlements for the construction of 4 replacement buildings and a parking garage in City 5.
Chairman Reyes, members, I'm Daniel Scott, City Planning Department. On January 28, 2010, the City Planning Commission approved conditional use permits to permit a parking garage with a student play deck on the rooftop, a child care facility and nursery school, and a private day school and Hebrew school, all associated with the existing Valley Beth Shalom Synagogue.
The applicant proposes to improve its existing worship, educational, and parking facilities. The improvements are part of the master plan for the synagogue in order to address the existing and future needs of the congregation. The appeal by Douglas Emmett has been addressed to the satisfaction of all parties, including the planning department. Kevin McDonald, representing the applicant, has submitted a letter with revised conditions of approval. A planning staff concurs with all of the revisions contained in the letter submitted to your committee. Thank you.
Okay, so we have reached
a satisfactory...
A kumbaya moment?
Yes.
Okay. We do have several speakers who would like to speak, and okay. Okay, well, let's just go through the cards. And is the applicant here or representatives? Mr. Resnick. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Have you been to the tower yet?
Just got to wake up. It's a very exciting adjustment here.
Okay. All right.
Yes, we have. We're actually, Kevin McDonald and I have had the privilege of representing Temple of Valley Beth Shalom in its pursuit of its master plan, redesign, redevelopment. Let me also introduce Bart Pacino, the new executive director of Temple Valley Beth Shalom, who's here also today. But as you notice, it's an empty room, and that is and that is because I'm pleased to report that through these appeals and through the help of Councilman Koretz's office, we have reached agreement with Douglas Emmett, an extensive agreement that would enable us to have a shared parking arrangement, recorded covenants. It's all documented, signed, and sealed. We've also worked with the neighbors on Moore Park, which are the most impacted neighbors. They have withdrawn their appeals. So it is a kumbaya moment, and what we ask is we try to make it as easy as possible. Kevin wrote a very extensive set of conditions showing the exact changes from the Planning Commission, and those have been reviewed by Douglas Emmett's representative, who's here and can speak to that. That's Brad Rosenheim. And I believe that Sean Bayless does have one added item he wanted to add, and there he is, which we've agreed to. And so Sean can certainly read that into the record. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's with time to spare on a 2-minute clock. That's pretty good. Brad Rosenheim? Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Brad Rosenheim, 21550 Oxnard Street, on behalf of Douglas Emmett Management, LLC. I simply wanted to be here today to provide our support for the recommended changes that are included in the June 24th letter by Mr. McDonald, and also thank the staff and the committee for your patience. It took quite a while to work through all the details, but we really do appreciate the time that we've had to complete this very satisfactory conclusion.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Kevin McDonald. Got all the heavy hitters today, huh?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. My job here is to present to you the June 24th letter that I submitted that includes the final requested adjustments to the City Planning Commission approval letter. You'll see it's an underlined strikeout form. I think if you're inclined to adopt this, it's appropriate to move to adopt this letter, to deny in part and to approve in part the appeal, and adopt this letter because it reflects the changes to the conditions one by one as well as the findings. Thank you.
Okay, and we have Sean Bayless, right under the wire.
Twice in one day. Sean Bayless, Councilmember Paul Corrett's office. Our office is in support of the project that's before us, and really have to take just the briefest of moments to say thank you to not only the applicant, but to the neighbors, including Douglas Emmett, that have worked pretty darn hard to make this project workable for everyone. It's true definition of compromise is everyone walks away a little unhappy. So I think we've got a good project here. everyone is satisfied enough, and we're happy to see that. We would like to add just one condition as the project goes through its construction phase, and then after that, obviously, its implementation or use of the parking structure and play roof deck. There has been an agreement that the applicant would do a double pane windowing for the neighbors across the street. So we'd like to add that as condition 10I
Okay.
for the noise mitigation plan.
That's been submitted in writing as well.
Do what?
The 10I, that's been
Yes,
submitted in
correct.
writing. Okay,
so I
good.
want to make sure you had that, but we're in support. Yes. Yeah, submit.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Wayne Spindler.
Overdevelopment wins again, doesn't it? So, you got a nice playground on the top floor, so we can go by and see everybody in the top of an unenclosed structure with a playground. And they're basically building something here. I think it should have its own zip code. It's that large. It's it's already an anti-gridlock zone on that whole street. And everywhere you go down in Ventura, up and down, it's just more and more bigger and bigger and bigger structures. And it's just reached a point where on Ventura Boulevard, why have these meetings? You should just set a standard like this standard where you're under 200,000 gross square feet. You should just be able to build it without any hearings, without anything. And I have a house within walking distance that I bought there. And I got a man next to me that did the same thing, and they just build these giant bunker houses. They look like the size of apartment buildings for houses, and they stick them on 4,000 square feet of land. So it's just reached the point where, since you're allowing this kind of development, and we can't have an area that limits square footage, what is the remedy for the homeowners around these projects? You have 20 feet shrunk down to 5 feet. And there's a reason why you have this. You have that to protect the homeowners. But see, with you guys, a homeowner doesn't matter anymore. He's a dinosaur. He's a dying breed. So eventually, like on my lot, I have a third of an acre. And the neighbor next to me, he subdivided for 3 lots. Eventually, all of these houses that are the larger ranch houses will have to be destroyed and redeveloped into multi-structures. If that's the city you want, then go ahead and keep doing this, because there'll just be no more houses left in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Okay, that concludes the comment cards in this item. Anything we want to add, Dan?
No, planning staff is happy, as well as everyone else concerned.
Okay. So we can grant in part and deny in part with modified conditions, including those submitted in writing by the council office.
That's correct.
So that would be the action of this committee. Have a second? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. We can continue this in the committee, 4 times? 4 times? 5 times? That's good we got here. All right. Now, there is no planning director's report. We do have one comment card and general comment. That's Mr. Spindler.
Well, I'll just say that with what's going on near CD5, in my home, you had a developer that took a private backyard and carved a 20-foot street behind the back of my house. And there's something that resembles a Stonehenge.
I'm sorry, Mr. Spindler, just a moment. Can you please take the conversations outside so we can hear the speaker? Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, you're not allowed, it seems, to buy a home that's a single-family home on these large parcels. And this is the Rancho Los Encinos. The entire plan was an RA1, R11, and these were for large single-family homes. And you've completely eliminated the ability to have a single-family home with everybody around doing these multi-developments. So what I propose is that, given in my circumstance, I could probably get subdivision for 2 lots, give or take. So institute a procedure where we can go, show what we paid for the property, and give us a settlement offer so that we can leave the city of Los Angeles. Because I'm looking in Ventura, I'm looking to get the hell out of here, because this process shows that if you own a home and you're not an employee of AEG or have a box at Staples Center for $300,000 a year, you don't matter. Nobody matters except the big guys. Nobody can buy a home and go home without seeing somebody applying for some sort of variance to put 6 apartment units next door to them or a 5,000 square foot house. And this is all over the city what you're seeing, and I'm just warning you that somebody will come up with a way legally to be compensated for this loss of their homes. And that's the danger you're facing here, and I just want you to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the great country of America, you could buy and sell based on what you own. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. And that concludes this committee.